Hey guys, check it out, man. This is something I have wanted for a long time. I have wanted a small action camera. I like the ubiquitous GoPro for a long time, but I haven't really been too thrilled about the prices of GoPros. And they're neat, but they were just a little out of what I wanted to spend for such a thing. And then I stumbled on this company here. I think it's pronounced E. It's Y-I. It might be Ye, but I think it's E. Anyway, I found this camera. It's the E4K Plus action camera, and I bought this on Amazon. I got this in a kit. It's a waterproof case kit. They sell this with the camera by itself and in several different types of kits. Let's see what it is, man. This is pretty cool. Now, this really isn't an unboxing video because I've already unboxed this thing. I never have the patience to wait to unbox something on camera. I get something home, I want to dive right in. So I do post unboxing videos. If I suspect that the thing may be damaged or something, then I'll do an unboxing vid. But beyond that, I can't wait to get in. All right, so let me pull out the camera. It is a beautiful little camera. Take a look at that. Very small, easily fits in the palm of my hand. Nothing to it. A little data transfer cable connection right there. I happen to be one that I'll yank that out of there in no time because those irritate me. All right, really nice. You change the battery or you install the battery when you first get it by just slipping it right down in this little port, this little hole right here. Nothing to it. It snaps right in. You push it in. You'll see where the terminals are. There are 3 terminals on this end here. You push it down in, and then you push it a little further, and you'll feel it click in, and then you know you're good. Put your micro SD card there. A very, very nice little camera. And so let me set that back in there. I am not going to go into the operation of the camera right now because I don't understand it. I don't know it myself. I just want to show the first impressions of this thing. But check it out. It came with this kit. Came with a waterproof case. So, like I said, you have the nice GoPro mount. Well, the GoPro mount installs right here onto the waterproof case. All right, so that's pretty slick. And then this mounts onto a tripod, which is perfect for what I need to use if I'm going to be doing outdoor stuff with this little guy. Because I like this, this thing will film very nice in 4K. And if I remember right, it films up to 60 frames per second. So it's a pretty slick little camera. Basically, you're going to slide it this way, and if you push down on that button there, it lifts right up, okay? And then it unbuckles like that, and then this thing opens right up. You take your camera, you set it right in there. Very nice. Check it out. It's all taken care of. And then you make sure it's seated home. You have to push it a little firmly. And then this thing here just closes down on it, and it's got a nice seal, neoprene seal, looks like on the outside edge here. You just push that, bring that here, and then this will seal it tight. Now you've got your camera all put away. Now, this does have a touchscreen on the back, and you cannot use the touchscreen when it's in this case, but you can download the phone app and control it from your phone, and from what I understand, the phone app is actually pretty slick. Okay, guys, a little update on where we are. I've gone ahead and cleaned and lubricated this bearing at the end of this tuning condenser, and I've cleaned up this gear. There's a little bit of a witness mark on each tooth, but nothing serious that's going to damage it at all. So I cleaned up that gear, and then I sprayed deoxit at all of these little contact points. These are the ground contact points for the rotor, because the rotor is what is grounding to the frame here. So I cleaned up these contact fingers and these little contact clips so that we have a good ground. And then I put a little bit of, just a tiny drop of sewing machine oil down in this shaft right in here to kind of make sure that stays lubricated and so forth, and a little grease in here. I did do a trick that a couple people have mentioned, and then I put some sewing machine grease in here, smeared it around a little bit, but it's tough to get in there and get everything. And so once I did that, then I gave it a shot of lacquer thinner, and before the lacquer thinner had a chance to dry, rotated this thing. So I rotated this thing nice and quickly before the lacquer thinner could dry. And I did that several times, and you know, that does a pretty good job of getting the lubricant everywhere on those balls down in the ball bearings. So you can see the balls right down in here. And I smeared some sewing machine grease there, not a lot, but enough. Just, you know, a little dollop of it right there on the balls, smeared it around the best I could. And then I got in there and gave it a shot of lacquer thinner. Once I got it wet with lacquer thinner, very quickly, I operated the thing and spread that grease around, because what happens is that lacquer thinner dissolves that grease and enables it to kind of spread everywhere and flow everywhere. And that does a really good job of getting the lubricant where it needs to be. And then the lacquer thinner dries up and the lubricant stays, and it works really well. The lacquer thinner doesn't wash it away because the lubricant's too thick, and I don't put enough thinner on there to do that. But it works great, it really does. See, this grommet is nice and soft here. There is no need in the world to replace that grommet. You can see there's no cracking, there's no damage at all with that, and so I didn't see a need to replace that. This one up here is the same way, and of course there are 3 grommets, and there's the 3rd one right there. And you can kind of see that's in really nice shape. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that grommet. Taking a worm's eye view of the rest of the chassis, you can see that I've finished installing that output transformer. That's all in place. I've got the safety capacitors up here on top of the big lead block. I think I've shown that to you a few minutes ago. And everything else is pretty well there. I think we are in pretty good shape here for turning this baby over and giving her a shot. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to flip it over, clean up the top side, and then get that push button assembly done so I can get it installed. We're making progress, guys. I figure this weekend I'll have this baby at least playing. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and solder these 3 wires back onto their terminals. I went back and reviewed my video again. I've been doing a lot of that on this radio. And the number 9 wire here goes to the left side of this choke, as I mentioned in the video. The number 8, it goes on this terminal right here where we have a couple of power resistors and a small resistor going to. And then this blue wire, this what I numbered as number 7, goes right here on this ground bus. So let me go ahead and get those on there. Hopefully I'll be doing a first fire up of this thing today. I've been kind of lagging behind on some of my radio work because I've had a lot of other issues going on that I won't bore you with. Yeah, here's an idea, guys. If you drop a drop of molten tinning paste on your bench, even though it's hardened, don't sweep it off on your open palm right away. Give it time to cool. Just that's my thought for the day. Let's get these over here done now. Okie dokie. Let's first off, this insulation that they used on this radio, it melts. All you have to do is look at it hard and it will melt. So what I've been doing is trimming back a little farther than I normally would. Wow, this stuff's nasty. A lot of 50s radios are like this. And this is a 47, so it's getting close. This is number 4, so I don't really have any lead length left. I gotta go right there. What I can do, I suppose, come up through that opening there and come around. If I'm really careful, I can come up through that hole and get to that lead and that terminal, and that's what I'm going to do. Make sure that doesn't interfere with the switch. Nope. I like that. That sort of tucks that wire back out of the way. Alright, here's wire number 3. Now this cloth insulation is not so bad, but it is spraying on the end. Ow. You want to try and cut the frays off without cutting the end of your finger. It's always a good technique to not cut the end of your finger. Now, we all know what I do with fraying wire once I trim it up. And I'm going to do that right now. Just put a little bit of lacquer thinner right there on the end, just to help keep it from fraying anymore. Not lacquer thinner, guys, lacquer. You know what I mean. Just enough to help keep it fraying anymore. And you know what? This brush is getting to be bad news. So, away it goes. I'll just use the bottle from this point on. I want to trim that ugliness away. Alright, you can go too far sometimes with these things, so I think I'll give it a rest right there. Feed this one up through the same sort of hole, and that makes a nice tidy connection right there. I doubt that that's what Philco intended, but it works really well. As long as you don't leave a lot of bare wire underneath, you come up all the way through, it should work just fine. The next one's going to be 5, which sits over there. I don't have a spare little hole I can come up through for that one, so I have to do a wraparound. These record changer power wires are going to have to be butt connected to their mates on the radio. It's a nice breeze outside, and you can hear it blowing through the aspen trees. It's one of my favorite sounds. It's a sound you don't get back east, but you get out here in the mountain part of the west. It's a really nice, pleasant, relaxing sound. It lets you know fall is here, and you don't have much time left. But it's a very sweet sound. You'll hear aspen trees in the summer, of course, but as the leaves start to dry out, you hear them even more. Alright, I need to connect these pairs of wires right here. Alright, so we don't need these tags anymore. The trick here is to slide that shrink tubing as far away from where you're going to be working as you can. You don't want it to get warm and start shrinking on you. And then I usually take a fairly weak alligator clip and kind of clip it back out of the way. That way it doesn't slide back on you while you're working. How'd that happen? Alright, so, gosh, anybody know what these little strings that are inside the wire are for? I don't think they interfere with soldering, but they're always sort of in the way, flopping around. And being kind of an anal person myself, they irritate me. I'm sure they're to mark the wire somehow, but I'm not quite sure how. I got to find out if something like a GoPro can deliver a constant frame rate, because the idea of having my nice mirrorless camera in here in this solder smoke just does not make me happy. The funny thing is, that's originally why I bought the cameras, but I got to looking at them and they're so beautiful, and I could do other things with them, that I don't want to ruin them in here. And they weren't given to me. They weren't cheap, man. They were really rather expensive. And it's about that time that I started to realize that, man, there's a lot of dust in here. Yikes. Okay, guys. Terrific, eh? Terrific. Now, what we're going to have to do put a couple lamps in these things because I want to be able to see it as I'm messing with it. And we're going to plug this puppy in. Now that's not as simple as it sounds. I'm going to turn you guys off for a little bit while I get set up because you don't need to watch me clean my bench off. But I'm going to give this thing a test whirl here shortly. So let me tell you before we start just where we are on this, what I've done since the last section of the video, which for you was roughly a few seconds ago. I went ahead and populated all the tubes. I love that expression, populated it with tubes. It sounds a little bit kind of kinky, doesn't it? Well, anyway, I put all the tubes in. They've all been cleaned. All this wiring has been taken care of, right? All the lamp wires and all that stuff are installed. As you can see from up here, I got the push button assembly installed and got the little light shield on. All the grounds, everything are in place. I'm a little bit concerned about this wire. It feels a little tight to me. I'll get in there and see if I can loosen that up a bit. But beyond that, it's okay. I haven't done anything to a line. So basically, I just want to turn it on. But before I do that, I want to make sure I don't have any shorts anywhere in the heater circuit. So I pulled the rectifier out. Bob Anderson from B. Anderson TV was the first one that I ever saw do this. And I've been doing it ever since. So pull the rectifier out and set it aside. My isolation transformer is on. Let's turn on my variac. And let's see what we come up with, okay? So I don't have to take it slow coming up in power on this. I usually will come up pretty quick because I'm looking for transformer function and shorts. So I'm going to be, and you can watch along with me. Just watch this ammeter along with me as I come up with in voltage, okay? All right, here we go. All right, we're 45 volts. And we do have some lights. That's good. That's a good thing. We have some dial lights. 60 volts. Lights are brighter. We're not going to hear anything from the speaker in this little first part of the test because we don't have high voltage. Okay, so it's going up to 75 volts so far. Current has not spiked or anything silly like that. 90 volts, current's the same. 100 volts, current's the same. 110 volts, current's the same. 120 volts, current's the same. 124 volts. Everything looks good, current's the same. Let me take a listen to the transformer, make sure it's not humming badly. No. Okay, now we're going to, of course, take care of high voltage by putting the rectifier back in. Now we will have high voltage, and it's a whole different landscape. We've got to take it slow coming up because I've got some new electrolytic capacitors in there that will need to kind of soak in a little bit, begin to form is what I'm trying to say. So let me do that. Let's come on up to about 30 volts. You see the current coming up slowly. There we go. We're at about 30 volts. Still have lights. So we have no shorts. That's a good thing. Now, I don't have an antenna hooked up to this, guys, so what I'm going to be doing, I may pick up a station, I may not. I'm going to be looking for audio out of the speaker. I want to make sure that the audio stages are working, and I'll know if the RF's working. I'll hear static and noise and stuff if it's working okay. If it's silent, then I've got to worry. Okay, let's come on up to 60 volts, let her sit there for a minute. That's where I usually like to let it soak for a minute or two. Now, one thing I love about this versus Zeniths of the era is this thing has a pretty healthy transformer. A lot of Zeniths of this time, the ones with transformers, main power transformers, they had pretty wimpy little transformers. Okay, so we're sitting at less than 1/4 of an amp. Let's come on up to 75 volts. Current has gone up. It's dipping back down just a little bit. We're still less than 1/2 amp. Rectifier is lighting up. All the other tubes are lit. Okay, let's go up to 90 volts. We should start hearing sound pretty soon. And I think I do hear some hum from the speaker. Let me go check. Yep, I got speaker hum. Okay, very good. Let's take her up to 100 volts and we'll stop there and we'll kind of fish around, see if we get any static or anything. 100 volts, I got a little louder speaker hum, that's good. But not like power supply hum, just the normal everyday garden variety tube hum. We're at 105 volts. We'll stay there and we'll look around, okay? Hey, I hear static. I hear noise. It sounds like maybe a ghost of a radio station. Let's see. Let's tune around a bit. Oops. Holy crap. Okay, guys. Wow. That I was not expecting. Tone control's working. Very good. Holy crap, I don't have an antenna installed. Now, it does pick up better when I touch the radio. I expect that. Okay, I'm going to have to fix this little deal here because it's catching on the dial. All right, before I continue, let me go ahead and do that. All right, let's see now. Okay, there we go. We're good. Okay, let's resume our testing, shall we? Turn off the light. Turn on the power. We can come up a little faster now because we know it's going to be okay. 60 volts. 90 volts. 105 volts. I think we'll stop there like we did before. Okay, let's tune it a bit. Wow. That's amazing, man. No antenna or anything.
Manuals and copies. Look at Utah State. Been killing, maybe paying off their non-owner occupied.
The speakers always sound goofy when they lay in face down like this because the air can't get out of the one side. So I like to do that and they don't sound quite so boomy. There we go.
CRS expand their life-saving efforts by making a generous donation to CRS's.
Oh, that's weird. So we're going to have some aligning to do. There's usually some funkiness before you align it. This one, because this one I had to go through everything. I'm not surprised by that. Let's check out other functions. Well, that's probably push button. Yep. Let's go over here. Okay, we'll have to sort that out. One of those is FM and one of them is phono. Okay, so at least I know I have audio. And I know that the RF stages are working for AM. And typically with the early FM, they shared the IF, and this one does. So if the IF is working for AM, it's very likely it's working fine for FM too, and I've just got to tinker around a bit. I don't have an antenna hooked up to either side. FM, usually on the older radios, you get nothing if you don't have an antenna. So the next step is going to be to hook an antenna up to this and see if I get anything, okay? So let me go ahead and turn this off for now. I'll go find a piece of twin lead and I'll hook it up and we'll see what we get. Well, I do apologize for the crappy sound quality here in this next clip. I need to keep a better eye on the battery meter on my recorder because the battery died as I was just beginning recording for this. So we'll do the best we can. Alright, I've got a twin lead hooked up to this radio and I'm gonna give it a try. I have my doubts though. If I remember right, it was dead silent on FM. FM on this radio is all the way to the right. So let me put it on AM just so I know it's come on okay. Alright, 122 volts.
Tune in radio app. The rogue regime in North Korea continues its dangerous and highly provocative behavior.
Alright, let me go ahead and put this on FM. That's all the way to the right. That's FM right there. Turn it all the way up. I don't think I'm going to get anything. I get nothing. I have a standard twin lead for FM hooked up. The FM antenna in the cabinet is a twin lead that uses the two sides of the cabinet, and it connects through a connector that goes in the top. Now I found the places where that connector goes, and I connected the twin lead to that, and I'm not getting anything. So either I've got the antenna connected incorrectly, which is entirely possible, or there's a problem in the FM. I'm not going to spend a lot of time troubleshooting this FM until I know, until I've seen that cabinet. So I'm going to wait to hear back from the owner on that, and I'm sort of suspended on this. I'm not going to align the AM until I get ready to do the FM too. Okay folks, good news is the radio works. We're going to dig into figuring out what's going on with the FM next time, and we'll get started on the alignment. So, for now, this is Michael from your Western Outpost in Salt Lake City, and that's all for now.